There we are. Thank you. If you could kind of do it the old-fashioned way and just hold up your hand when you seek recognition, we'll go that way instead of our usual electronic. And we're okay with that mic on there. Okay, good. As long as I'm kind of stopped for announcements, I just want to make the point that anybody who wishes to speak to the commission, when you come up, please make sure that the microphone is green by pushing the button, the little collar. State your name and then proceed with whatever statement you would care to make. With that, we will start with our invocation, and I believe we have Jerry Powell with us this evening. So if you would please proceed.
You know, it's an honor in two ways. It's an honor to stand before you all, and it's an honor to stand before the Lord. So would you join me as we pray? Heavenly Father, first of all, we want to thank you. Thank you for this leadership that's in this room that you've assembled. You commanded in your word that we are to pray for those in authority over us. And Lord, right now we are asking that in this particular meeting that you would grant wisdom. You said in your word, if anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, and he will give to all men liberally. So we pray for wisdom and guidance, insight, unity of spirit. And above all else, Lord, we thank you for the privilege it is to stand here today and to call on your name. So we ask your blessings on this meeting, and we thank you. We pray these things in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. And everybody said, Amen. Thank you.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Nolte?
Here.
Commissioner Withington?
Here.
Commissioner Lawson?
Here.
Commissioner Wagner? Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Thompson?
Here.
Commissioner Carpenter?
With that, is there a motion related to the approval of this evening's agenda? Commissioner Johnson.
Yes, sir. I move to approve tonight's agenda as written.
Motion has been made for the approval of this evening's agenda as written. Are there any discussion or comments? Seeing none, you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda are ceremonial matters. We have one item on there. Administrator.
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. If your indulgence, I'd like to read the proclamation. March is designated nationally as Procurement Month, so we want to talk a little bit about what that means and what our procurement team does here for the county, and also across the country for government agencies and the private sector. So I'll begin with the proclamation. Whereas the public procurement profession plays a significant role in the efficiency and effectiveness of both government and business. And whereas, in addition to the purchase of goods and services, procurement adds value to the organization by performing such functions as executing, implementing, and administering contracts, developing strategic procurement strategies, and cultivating working relationships with suppliers and other departments within the organization. And whereas, public procurement professionals at Clay County and in other public and private organizations have tremendous influence on the economic conditions in the United States, with a cumulative purchasing power running into the billions of dollars. And whereas the purchasing department and purchasing partners of Clay County are committed to providing high caliber, strategic, logistical, and operational support for all departments within Clay County government. And whereas the purchasing department and Clay County recognize, support, and practice the public procurement values and guiding principles of accountability, ethics, impartiality, professionalism, service, and transparency established by the National Institute for Public Procurement as fundamental tenets of the public procurement profession. And whereas the Missouri Association of Public Purchasing and members of the National Institute for Government Procurement has proclaimed the month of March as Procurement Month to further expand the awareness of the procurement professional's role to government officials, the general public, business, and corporate leaders. Now therefore be it resolved by the Clay County Commission does hereby proclaim March 2024 Procurement Month at Clay County and urge all citizens to join the Commission in recognizing the role of the procurement and materials management profession within business, industry, and government. And so tonight we have accepting the procurement proclamation, part of our staff from our procurement team. They are a small team, but a mighty team within our organization. So I'd like to introduce Leslie Burton, who is our procurement manager, to accept the proclamation and talk just a little bit about our team.
Thank you. When you come up, please make sure the microphone is on. State your name for the audio recording and then proceed.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Leslie Burton. I'm the purchasing agent for Clay County, Missouri. And with me tonight, this evening is Patrick West. He's one of my procurement specialist extraordinaires. There were a whole lot of P's. I'm not sure if you caught on. So I want to continue on with that trend and just kind of let you know a little bit about what we're doing to honor the procurement profession within Clay County. We've been doing office visits this week to individual offices throughout the county, delivering pastries from Panera, and also educating a lot of our staff and purchasing partners about procurement specifically. And it's been a really educational experience for a lot of our departments. In fact, they weren't quite sure what procurement really was. And so we were able to share like the actual acquiring of goods, the act of, and everything that's involved in that, including the supply chain silo as well. So this week we've been passing out popcorn to anyone that happens to be hungry. I would like to take this opportunity to announce that next week our theme in purchasing department is procurement. It's kind of a big deal. So we'll be handing out, passing out pickle-related snacks. Can't find a P word for that. So pop in for anything pickle-related. The week of the 18th, our theme is procurement can get a little nutty at times. So we'll be handing out nuts, mostly pistachios, peanuts, and pecans, but they'll toss in a few circus peanuts too, because it's kind of a zoo at times in procurement. Our roundtable forum will also be that week of the 18th. We're hosting it 2 days here in the Commission hearing room. We're asking RSVPs be sent to the purchasing@claycountymo.gov email address. Our lunch is being sponsored by one of our local pizzerias, J&S Pizza, sponsoring our lunch that. And then the very last week of procurement month, we'll be passing out popsicles. And we're having a pancake breakfast in the procurement office on the very last day of the month from 8 to 11. So if you want pancakes, please come by. We are tossing around the idea of potentially also providing some pork sausages. So lastly, we just wanted to mention too that we're also collecting items, much needed items for the juvenile and group homes here in Clay County that serve our young citizens. So we've got a list. We've worked with some staff over there, got a list of some much needed items, and we've got a collection bin set up. So when you come get your treats, if you have it in your hearts to bring a little something, something, that's on that list. I know our group homes would really appreciate that. So I want to thank the Commission for honoring Procurement Month. This is the first time since I've been with the county that the Commission has honored it and recognized it, and I appreciate that, as the staff and the rest of the procurement professionals within the county. So thank you.
Thank you. The only word that comes to mind is perfect. Something that, yeah, I'd like to make a comment and then open it up for other commissioners if they would like to comment. But the thing is, the function that we do a lot of functions here at the county. We have law enforcement that but we need to make sure that we are fully functioning and fully funding roads, bridges, a lot of important things, but they all come down to one thing, and that is purchasing and procurement. And if there is one duty that we as a government must take as seriously as possible, and that is the responsible use of taxpayer money. And you folks are at the front line of that. You're the ones that make sure that this process runs as it should run, and certainly we feel a lot of appreciation. Certainly, better you doing the job than me. I think it turns out much better for all involved. Would any other commissioners care to comment? Commissioner Lawson.
Yeah, I had the great privilege of sitting in on the part of the bid as we were looking for who was going to run the airport. And your team did an exemplary job, handled very professionally. Everything was done as it should have been. And so I commend you. I think you all do a really great job, and I enjoyed having the opportunity to sit in on that.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
I just want to thank you and your staff for what you do. I think you guys are sometimes the unsung heroes, and a lot of people don't realize the complexity sometimes of when it comes to purchasing and procurements. And having, some of you know my background and spent 30 years on what I call the working side of government, on that side of the dais. I've had to rely on purchasing and procurement processes, and it's confusing to us not so smart folks. And you guys are able to do things and manage through all the difficult things that are always laid before us in government sector. And you guys do a great job, and I really appreciate what you do, so thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from any other commissioners at this time? Seeing none, we will take a moment then, unless you have any further comments to make. No? And we will present you with the honorary resolution.
Thank you.
All right, well, it's always great to be able to acknowledge the hard work of our staff, and they do work very, very hard. We do appreciate that. With that, next on the agenda are public comments. Are there any members of the public that wish to comment on any issues not on this evening's agenda? Please state your name and proceed.
Presiding Commissioner Nolte and Commission, my name is Eugene Suter, and I'm the outgoing chair of the University of Missouri Extension Council here in Clay County. And I just wanted to sincerely thank you for your support of Extension for this coming year. Your support will help us to continue and enhance our programming to over 1,400 4-H students in the county. And I think you're going to have a couple that are going to join your meeting next week, and I think you'll be impressed. Your support will also enable us to continue our senior programming along the lines of nutrition and balance, and then also nutrition programming for young kids. And then during this tax season, our VITA program continues to provide support to seniors and those with disabilities around income tax filings. So a number of different programs that we offer, and again, I sincerely want to thank you for your support. If there are any questions, I certainly could answer those.
Commissioner Withington.
I don't have any questions. I just want to say thanks for your service and everything you've done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other from any other commissioners? Certainly, I would want to echo those sentiments. And I would say thank you for your continuing service, because you're not getting away that easily.
Thanks.
When we find good people, we like to keep them.
Thanks. And also, if there's anything that comes up that you're aware of as commissioners during the course of the year that Extension can help you with, certainly feel free to let us know. We'd be glad to serve anything that came up that we could support you with. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any citizens wishing to come up and make a comment on any items of importance to them? Seeing none. That brings us to our consent agenda. Administrator?
The consent agenda allows the Commission to act upon items considered to be routine and approved in one motion. These may include items that have been reviewed by the Commission in a prior session. There will be no separate discussion unless a Commissioner requests that an item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. There are 3 items on this evening's consent agenda. The first item is Commission meeting minutes, February 15th and February 22nd, and Resolution 2024-77, approving a revocable event license for the North American Trail Ride Conference 2024 Jesse James Ride Out event in the parks, and Resolution 2024-79, approving invoice payments for Clay County from the period of February 21st to March 1st. There's a total of 146 invoices totaling $812,388.18.
Is there a motion? Commissioner Johnson.
Yes, sir. Move to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Motion has been made for the approval of this evening's consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
That brings us to this evening's regular agenda. First item on the agenda for our regular issues is 2024-57. Administrator?
Resolution 2024-57 is a request for waiver of fees, interest, penalties, and taxes due to a county error for the location at 9813 North Highland Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri. I do believe the applicant is in the audience.
Okay. If the applicant would like to make a statement, we'd certainly be anxious to hear what that person, there you are. Please make sure that the green light is on, state your name, and then you may proceed as you see fit.
Debbie Dagenfelder. I went to the Clay County Annex to pay my taxes, not
Could you speak
knowing.
just a little bit more loudly, please? Just
Louder?
maybe a little closer to the microphone so we can hear you better. You can move the mic if you'd like.
I went to the Clay County Annex to pay my taxes, and they wouldn't let me stand in line to pay them because it was in December. So they told me I had to drop them in a drop box. I made sure that both of my checks were in there, my personal property taxes and my real estate taxes. And from what I gather, a courier picks them up from the annex and takes them to the bank. The bank lost my check. That's what I'm gathering. I don't know if that's what happened or not, but I don't feel like it's my fault, and I don't feel like I should have to pay $325 to, I went ahead and paid them again, and I have my check register to show that I paid them, or that I've wrote out 2 different checks.
Did
3, actually, because I paid the...
the check that was not there end up getting cashed, or is it still
Not
outstanding?
yet. It has not been cashed.
Okay. Are there any questions of the applicant? Commissioner Lawson?
Yeah, here's the only thing I have. If she went out there and she was wanting to stand in line to pay, why couldn't she stand in line? Is there a reason that we tell them we don't want you to do that? We prefer that you put it in the drop box? I think my way of thinking, we're talking about the people we work for. So it would have been much nicer to say, if you want to stand in line, it can be a while, honey, but if you want to, throw it in the drop box.
No, they told me
it wasn't told you that way, was it?
They told me I could not stand in line to pay because
So
it
my
was
question is why?
in December.
Somebody tell me why she couldn't pay that way and she had to put it in the drop box.
Barbara O'Reilly, collector. We did not have enough employees to handle taking the checks and trying to post them. We were using the credit cards and the cash payments at the counters. The bank can process our checks much faster than we can. Like I said, we didn't have the employees, the staffing this year.
So if I come up to pay with a check, then we cannot accept a check from the people? Is that correct?
Not at that time. That was the busy time at the end of the tax season.
Sure.
And at that time, we send everything to the lockbox so the bank can take it and process it. Now we can take checks because, the lines aren't that.
Right.
Yeah. mhm.
Right,
So
right.
we have to use our time efficiently. So.
Well, let me say this. First of all, I think you and your department do a phenomenal job. You're great. I can come to you at any time and ask you a question. You're wonderful about answering it. So I have great respect for the job. But I'm telling you that we better be doing some changing. If somebody wants to pay with a check, they want to stand in line, then by cracky, that's what we should let them do. We, like I said, are working for them. If we do what makes it easiest for them. Had that happened, and she pulled out her envelope, if by some chance her check wasn't there, you could have said, right, where's the other check? Or if it was there, it would have been resolved, taken care of, and she wouldn't be coming back in here all the time. So I think we need to change some policies. I know it's crazy at that time, but if they're willing to stand in line, then by cracky, let them stand in line and pay. So I do feel like this is in a way our error for not allowing her to do that, and then we don't know what happened. We really don't know what happened. She tried to do it the right way. So just my thought. Thank you, Barbara.
Before I go to Commissioner Withington, I'd like to kind of echo the remarks, and if there are other circumstances, I'd certainly be open to hearing them. But what strikes me is the difference between cannot and will not. So that's kind of where I am if the taxpayer is given the option and they take the option to go that route. But what concerns me is if the taxpayer is willing to put in the time to stand there, then this is a decision we made. I hesitate to use the word fault. That's not a comfortable word in this circumstance because I don't see a fault. I just see trying to move things efficiently. However, it does feel as though it might be more, maybe our responsibility is a better way to put it than fault. Like I say, I have a little trouble with that word just because there's a difference between that and it being due to county's action. I don't mean to point the finger at any particular person on the staff. I'm just saying that's something that I think is worth consideration when we look at this question. Commissioner Withington.
Commissioner Lawson pretty much said what I was going to say, but no, you're good. I'm curious, how many minutes, whatever, does it take to actually process the check? If she were to wait in line and she were to write a check, how long would that take you guys to actually process?
Approximately, I don't know, 3-5 minutes.
3 to 5 minutes?
Depending on, if it was.
How long would it take to process a credit card payment?
Approximately about the same time.
So if they're approximately the same time, why wouldn't we let her pay with a check?
We just are trying to, because of the lack of employment, we are trying to get the most efficient in the timely manner and to get people in and out. Because all the people are coming in, a lot of them are needing court orders and added so they can be billed. We're having to come for the assessment department and be assessed, and then they bring it to us and the bill's generated there. And
So if somebody came in December and wanted to pay with a credit card, if she wanted to pay with a credit card, would you have let her stand in line and process it?
Yes. Mhm.
So, but you wouldn't let her do it with a check even though it takes the same amount of time?
No.
All right. So because of that, I'm going to make a motion that we refund this penalty and interest. I think that's not right to the taxpayer especially if they take the same amount of time. So I'm going to make a motion that we approve 2024-57 with the box marked approved.
Very well. I will restate the motion. Motion's been made for the approval of 2024-57 with the box marked approved, checked. Do you have any other comments before we move on? Next is Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Johnson, I believe after you address the current witness, you would also like to ask the taxpayer. So, taxpayer, please don't go anywhere.
Actually, yeah, I want to talk to Barbara first. Sorry. So real quick, if I understand the process right, there's two options. Actually, in this case, there's one option where she was to put her both checks in one envelope, drop in the drop box. That sealed envelope is never opened by us.
No.
It goes straight to the bank. The bank
Yes, sir.
opens it.
Yes.
And in this case, the bank opened it and
Yes,
claims
sir.
there was only one check inside.
Yes, sir.
Had she come to the counter, she doesn't give it to you in an envelope. She actually would give you a check, right?
Yes.
If we were doing that at that
If we
time.
were
And this is what we do at other times, because when it's not as busy, we do take checks.
Yes.
And then you process it right there, and we'd be able to know right then, yes, she did have two checks and she paid.
Yes, sir.
They're both. Okay, so, and if I could just explain to not only you, ma'am, but I know there's, I think, 3 other people here asking for waivers, or 2 other folks asking for waivers. Just to be clear, and while all these questions are asked, we're trying to find an excuse to give you your money back. That's, quite frankly, that's how it is. The way the law works, and as much as we don't like it, we're bound by it. And that is, we get a lot of these requests, and where people, good taxpayers, doing the right thing, just something happens, whether you forgot to put the check in, or the bank lost a check, whatever, you tried to do the right thing, you weren't trying to avoid paying your taxes. And that's really what these fees and these fines are for. It's for people who avoid paying their taxes. That's what I think they should be for. There's some good people, honest people, pay their taxes every year. They're what I call great customers, and we want you to come back. We want your service. We want your taxes. But oftentimes things happen. And unfortunately, the state law says we can only waive a fee if it's our fault, if it's the county's fault. If we can say that the collector's office made a mistake, and only if our collector's office made a mistake can we give you your money back. And so in this case, it really doesn't look like the collector's office made a mistake. Matter of fact, there's no mistake made, I don't think, except for the fact that I think what Commissioner Withington or what Commissioner Lawson said is maybe our service should have been a little bit better, where this would not have happened had we let you come to the counter at that time and actually just hand the checks in. And some people are just more comfortable, hey, I want to make sure you got the check, I don't want to put it in a drop box. I like that level of service better, and I understand that, hey, you know what, we can't always provide that level of service, and we're also going to provide the employees to provide that level of service. So it kind of puts us in a tough spot. So I'm not real sure, I'm going to wait to listen to my colleague here, but I'm not sure how to vote on it, because I don't find fault with our collector. I want to give you your money back, but I don't find fault with our collector on this. But I do certainly wish we had that service available, that you could have just handed it to him, we wouldn't be here. But I'm going to end my comments there and listen to what my colleague has to say.
Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you. Hi, Barbara. You guys do a great job. You know I love you guys. I understand that you guys have been short-staffed. I know this was a rough year. Did we do any kind of notification to the public to let them know that they weren't going to be able to pay at the counter?
Yes, we have it in our insert.
Is it saying there that
we'll
it's,
be
if you come to the counter?
taking the payments, put them in the
Okay.
Dropbox. Yes, it does.
It does, okay. That's why I was checking. Okay, that's all I got.
Thank you. Before I go back, I'll go to Commissioner Withington here in a moment, but I just want to emphasize that part of the issue is it's difficult to get people in. I hesitate, as I say, to say it is a fault. It's more of a responsibility. And also what we have done this year as far as the commission goes is in our legislative priorities, we have urged the legislature to allow us more latitude here at the commission. And so that's kind of the background of what we're trying to do. So Commissioner Johnson is absolutely right. We are bound by those laws, at least the way we interpret them. But we are also, as a group, and I believe that passed unanimously, that we wanted the state to allow us to be able to work in a more flexible manner. So just wanted to use that as kind of clarification. Commissioner Withington, I believe you sought recognition?
Yeah, I just want to say, I wasn't trying to say that you guys were at fault or anything. The reason I made the motion that I made was, I think if somebody wants to pay, and it's going to take the same amount of time as a credit card payment, that, you know, I think we should let them make that payment. I mean, you know, it'd be different, like I told Commissioner Lawson, it would have been different if, you know, a check payment was going to take double the amount of time, but if it's going to take the same amount of time, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't let them make that payment. And I understand you're short-staffed, you know, and everything, but, you know, if we're going to have people making credit card payments, I think we should let them pay with check too. So that's the reason why I made the motion that I made.
If there are no further comments,
I have comments.
Commissioner Lawson, and then I will, unless there are further comments, I will go to Commissioner Withington to
Well,
close.
two things. First of all, I feel it is our fault. I really do. Had we said, come on up, we'll take your check, you're going to have to wait, and she was willing to do so, this all wouldn't happen. The other side of the coin is, that really frosts me, is, and I know we're trying to change it, but I don't think the state has a dog in this fight in a way. It's our taxes, it's our citizens. We ought to be able to dictate how these regulations are, you know, and they do need it to give us the latitude to do that. I don't know that that's taking a top priority with any of our lawmakers at the state level, but I think we need to push it a little bit more, because you've got these people coming in every week. They're wasting their time coming back and coming back. Well, hell, they could have stayed in line and paid the bill and wouldn't have had to make all these trips back here and waste the gas. But I feel it is truly the county's fault on this, because they did not allow the woman to come to the counter and pay it the way she would have wanted to, and then we wouldn't have had the problem at all. So that's all I got to say.
There are no further comments. Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, I'm in no way trying to defend the state, because believe me, I'm not happy with how it works. But I think one of the reasons why the state is so uppity about this is because they get some of that money.
Oh, yeah.
Some of that money goes to them. So if the check doesn't come in, then the state's not getting money. I think that's why they press so hard on this. And I think they get most of these fees and fines, don't they? The state, or do we keep all those?
No, the fees and fines, most of them stay here with the county.
But they're dictated by the state.
But they are dictated, and the
Yeah.
amount that we charge for the interest and penalties
Yeah.
is by state statute.
Which, by the way, is ridiculous as well. But we can't control that nonetheless. So, yeah, so I really want to give you your money back. I'm going to vote no, simply because I don't find fault with our clerk's office, even though I'd love to. No offense to our clerk. Our collector. Sorry. No offense to our collector, but I think this is kind of like if you were just to mail in the check and only one check showed up or whatever, it'd be the same issue. So although I wish that we could provide that service that we're talking about, and I hope that we can in the future, and anybody who wants to come to the counter, whether it's check or cash or credit card, can do that, but I realize it's some staffing levels that are going to be required for that, and we have to figure out how to make that happen if we want to provide that level of service, and we got to support you with that. I get that. So with that, I can't vote yes on it, so I'll be a no.
Before I go to Commissioner Withington, unless anyone else has anything, I think when we're talking about why the state possibly is not taking action on this, why it's not a priority, state government at the moment is probably not operating at its highest possible levels. So I think there are a lot of things going on at the state that we would like to see move forward, but because of the current state that they find themselves in, it might not be a very productive year in general, and this would not. This may or may not rise to the level unless it gets put onto another bill. But I don't want to get too inside baseball there. Commissioner Withington, I don't see any other comments, so if you would care to close, please proceed.
I close.
Well, wait a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry, did you?
I think that there's a problem here. I'd like to call on our legal counsel. I want to hear from
Before we,
her.
wait a minute, before we do that,
okay.
let me walk this back a little bit. Commissioner Withington had closed, however,
I'll
if you
take
wish
that
to
back.
withdraw that closure.
I'll take that
Okay,
back, yeah.
I don't mean to be picky about it, but we walked through the procedure, and that way,
Yeah.
Commissioner Lawson, you are recognized.
Okay, so I'd like to ask our legal counsel, from his lips to mine and God's ears, what is the deal going to be if we truly feel, any of us, that this is a fault of the county? the other commissioner says, no, I don't think it's the fault of the county. Where's that line drawn? And we don't want to do something illegal, but I want you to tell me what's right and what's wrong here, so we don't make a mistake.
As you, I hope, can appreciate, I'm not going to tell you how to vote, and I wouldn't ever do that. However you vote, on the staff side, we'll do everything we can to implement the vote of the commission.
You'll take what?
We'll do everything we can to implement the vote of the commission, whatever that majority vote is. This is a difficult situation that we've been dealing with since this statute was written, and there's no great answer because it's not a well-written statute, and it doesn't do as much as we would like it to do. The statute, as Commissioner Johnson has correctly identified, indicates that there needs to be a county error. Now, then the question becomes, and I think you raised it, do you believe there's an error? And I think reasonable people can differ on what they believe to be an error. And so, I think that should be your litmus test, that should be your guiding principle, but I'll let each commissioner obviously decide what constitutes an error in their mind.
Okay, so if I and Commissioner Withington and anybody else votes that we feel this should go back, we're not going to get kicked out of office because of this, right?
Well, I certainly would not expect that to be the case. No,
Okay.
I can't control the Attorney General of the state of Missouri, of course, but I would not expect that, no.
Okay, go for it.
Mr. Counselor, am I right in saying that if someone were to challenge any vote, that we need to be able to make a reasonable case for our interpretation of how we vote? Is that, and I realize it's not a legal point, but I would say that would be a guiding principle, is we are here to exercise judgment. And I realize you're telling us the state of the law, and it's our responsibility to do our reasonable interpretation of it. Is that fair to say?
I think that's fair, and obviously just the evidence of, the video evidence of this meeting certainly indicates a thoughtful approach, and that's certainly, I think, something that would be helpful. We're not just, picking a number and saying yes or no. There's a thoughtful approach, and reasonable minds can have a different interpretation of what the statute might say.
I don't think anybody would say we had these out like candy or anything like that. So I think that we have exhibited, both sides of the discussion exhibited thoughtful consideration, I think, which fulfills our requirement and our duties.
Correct. Yeah, that's my belief as well.
Anyone else before I go to Commissioner Withington to close? Seeing none, Commissioner, you are recognized.
So I completely respect what Commissioner Johnson had to say, and if I get thrown out of office for $325, it's worth it. So I close.
Very well. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Withington,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
No.
Commissioner Thompson,
No.
Commissioner Nolte.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-2.
Well, thank you. I get to vote so infrequently. It's rather a treat. Very well. That concludes our deliberation on 2024-57. That brings us to 2024-75. And I'm sorry, I was going to go back to the applicant, and I did not get back, but since it was found in your favor, I assume you're okay with that.
I'm good.
Okay, I kind of assumed that.
I do want to say one thing, though.
Okay, please go ahead
I just want to say one thing. When I went back in January to pay them and the penalty, there were probably more people in line then when I went back than there was the day that I went to pay them the first time.
Interesting. Thank you for that observation.
Thank you.
Administrator, so if we could go on to number 75, please.
Resolution 2024-75 is the consideration of a request for waiver of fees, interest, penalties, and taxes due to a county error for the property located at 3901 Northeast 59th Terrace. And I believe the applicant is in the audience.
Please come forward and state your name and proceed to make whatever statement you'd like to make.
All right. My wife had made the payment for both of our personal property taxes on the 29th of December. And we both got electronic receipts saying tax payment receipt, both paid. And I had gotten letters in the mail saying tax payment receipt has been made. And I think early December, we looked at our account and says, well, we have receipts. Why hasn't the money came out of our account? And went to the annex office and we told them we had the receipts. She was the best thing you can do is do a waiver. And so that's why I'm here. And we had to go to the bank and pay all the fees and whatever. And we had the checks from January where we had to go pay all of our late fees and whatever we had to get. Sorry, I'm not good at this, but we have all the receipts from, it showed it being paid before the 1st.
Okay. Are there any commissioners that would like to inquire of the applicant? Commissioner Lawson.
Yeah, okay, so he paid the taxes, and you got a receipt, correct?
Yes, ma'am. So I got
The
it.
receipt says that it was paid on the 29th.
Yes, ma'am.
Can't this up? Tiniest print I've ever seen. Oh, okay, thank you. Oh, beautiful. Okay. Yeah, so it shows that he paid it. I don't understand why there's an issue. If he paid it online, yeah, that's a problem with paying online sometimes. And then they sent the man a receipt saying, we got it, you paid it. It's tender type e-check. Why is he getting penalized? What happened with that?
I would ask the collector to come up and explain the process, as this is an
Okay.
electronic payment. I believe there was a typo by the taxpayer processing the bill, and our process always is, it does generate a document, at the top of it says tax receipt, but there's also a statement on there that basically says failure of this payment to clear your financial institution will void this receipt.
Oh, okay.
And because the account was incorrect, it couldn't process it, so the receipt is voided and the taxes were not paid prior to the end of the year.
Okay.
Would the collector care to come forward and speak on that point, or does that cover it, or, obviously your choice? But if it, come forward anyway, so if that suffices for what your explanation would be, just kind of acknowledge that for us.
Barbara O'Reilly, collector. That is correct. Our receipts do say at the bottom that they are receipts as long as the payment is processed and the funds are there. It did come back, and it looks like it might be transposition of numbers, or maybe one was left out. We can't tell because we are not privileged to see all of them because of the Privacy Act. We only see the last 4. And on a previous payment that they had made in prior years, the numbers were different than what they were this time. But it did come back from the bank,
Okay.
not processed.
Commissioner, do you have any further questions of the collector? Otherwise, we'll go back to the applicant.
Well, the only thing I was wondering was, so it was just like a transposed number?
It looks like it.
On the account, or was it from the account number, or what?
It looks like it might have been the account number that was in.
Okay, all right,
It looks like.
all right. Oh, okay. Oh, wow, okay.
I was showing her the highlighted, yeah. So-
0274 versus 2704. Shoot. Okay.
I'll go ahead and we'll go back to the applicant and see if there are any commissioners who have any questions. Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah.
You're recognized, Commissioner Johnson?
Okay, sir, let me just see if I got this straight.
Yes, sir.
So you guys filed your taxes you paid your taxes on time via electronic portal where
Yes,
you
sir.
put in your account so they can withdraw it out of your bank account.
Yes, sir.
It sounds like there was a mistake made, maybe a wrong number was put on the
Yeah,
account
that's-
number.
That's what my wife informed me. There was one number, I believe, left out or something, and.
You just threw your wife under the bus right there, didn't you?
But she, what it was is that, I mean, we meant to pay on time, we pay on time.
Yeah,
every
no,
year.
I get it. No,
And-
an honest mistake. This is the kind of stuff that frustrates me. It's like, you know what? You tried to pay your taxes, and now you're getting in trouble for trying to pay your taxes. And you did everything right except one number was wrong or whatever. I get it, and I hate the fact that you get penalized for that, and I wish you wouldn't. So what happened? You submit it, and you get a receipt that says, okay, it's been submitted.
And then I got a receipt in the mail stating from the county that it's received and has been paid in full on that date, on 12/29.
Total paid on this receipt, $1,058.65.
Yes, sir, I got an electronic receipt and a hard copy receipt in the mail.
Yeah, and at the very bottom of that, though, I'm reading, it says, failure of this payment to clear your financial institution will void this receipt. A return item fee and late penalty fee may be assessed. Please
Understandable.
verify your financial institution that this payment has cleared. So what happened then is you thought you did everything right, messed up a number, not a big deal. We thought you gave us everything, but then your bank says, wait, time out,
Not a right number, yeah.
this isn't working. Do I have that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now the problem, and I think you heard me explain it before, is we have to somehow find fault with our clerk. Or, I keep saying clerk, I'm sorry. with our collector. So I get the confusion where you think you've paid, because I don't read that fine print either. And I probably wouldn't have read that fine print if it wasn't highlighted for me on the screen right in front of me. But I thought, okay, I got a receipt that says it's paid. But the collector covered herself and said, on this receipt, and said, hey, if your bank doesn't clear this, you know, and that could be either your numbers transposed wrong, or you didn't have enough money in the account. I mean, it could be that you didn't have enough money in the account. That's not the case here. But if somebody doesn't have enough money in the account, well, then it would do the same thing. It would kick back and say, hey, there's not enough money, and there'd be a late penalty fee. So I'm trying to find a way where we can blame this on the collector.
Well, we didn't receive no failure of payment in the mail either. And my wife had to physically go in on January 8th, saying why the money hasn't come on our account because we haven't received non-payment, and this was a week and a half before. And so she went in by herself and saying that it wasn't paid, that she had to go to the bank to get a check and had to go back in and bring it back and pay it with the late fees and all that. And from my understanding, I thought I paid too, but it was an honest mistake, but I did want to pay on time, and I was just trying to get that waived because I've never not paid my taxes on time.
Well, just let me say, I appreciate you paying your taxes and trying to pay your taxes on time and everything you've done. And it doesn't look like you've had any problems paying your taxes in the past. I'm frustrated because we can't just say, we'll let this one slide, you know, we all make mistakes kind of thing. I want to be able to say that. I want to be able to say, hey, you know, hey, you tried, you bad number, you know, switch the number, whatever. You came back in and paid it right away when you found out. To me, we're good. The state says, no, we're not good. The state says, no, he didn't pay it on time. He transposed the number, whatever it was, so we're not good. And I'm struggling trying to find a way to blame this on the county, but I'm willing to listen if anybody else can find us a way that we can get him out of this.
By the way, I'm going to make an effort, and if other commissioners would like to do the same, and Commissioner Johnson just kind of did that, so he was sort of doing what I was going to recommend possibly that we consider, and that is the law says a county error. I'm reticent to identify the clerk because it's county error. Errors can occur at with the collector if, for instance, we have not given her the resources. So I have a great deal of hesitation assigning blame to a specific staff member unless that is an overwhelming thing. So I'm going to try my best to refer to it as county error rather than anything more specific when I can think of it. Commissioner Withington, I believe you were seeking recognition?
Yeah, Commissioner Johnson pretty much said everything I was going to say. So Reluctantly, I'll make the motion that we approve 2024-75 with the box marked denied.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2024-51 with the box marked denied. Does the applicant understand, because it's a little bit of a voting yes to vote no kind of a thing, but do you understand the nature of the motion being made?
Yes.
Okay. In other words, it would be passed, but it would be passed as a denial as opposed to an approval. So that's kind of what it would mean. I want to make sure that applicants are completely clear on what it is we're proposing. So
Okay.
with that, a motion has been made for the approval of 2024-51 with the box marked denies. Further discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close, Commissioner Withington.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Withington,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you very much. That brings us to 2024-51, Administrator.
Reconsideration of 2024-51 is the reconsideration of the request for waiver fees, interest, penalties, and taxes due to a county error for the property located at 518 Nottingham Place in Liberty. And again, I believe the applicant is in the audience. Commission may remember this was before the commission was recommended and voted on to deny. The applicant was not here that evening. At the following meeting, the applicant came under discussion and had presented some information to the commission. And so the commission voted to reconsider that resolution and asked the applicant to provide additional information such as information from the bank with regard to the transaction that took place. So included in your packet is the correspondence that the applicant provided from Commerce Bank dated January 2nd regarding the potential of a potential fraud on the account, because again, the check was presented with no signature, and so the bank then did not process the check from their account and was sent back into the county's account. But again, the applicant is here. I'm sure he'll be happy to answer any questions the commission has. They've had conversations with their bank, and so they can provide information to the commission.
Before we go forward with that, I want to check with County Council and make sure that procedurally we are going in a correct direction. My understanding is what we are considering first is whether or not to reconsider 2024-51. Should that reconsideration fail, that would end the matter. If the reconsideration is approved, then we would be taking up the issue almost as if it were anew. Is that correct?
Yes, but my recollection is I think we've already voted on the reconsideration. So I do think the reconsideration is back in front of you as is. So I think there's only one vote that we need to do.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't skipping any steps.
Yeah.
Very well. With that, if the applicant would care to come forward.
First of all, I want to thank you guys for allowing me this opportunity, and it gave me a chance to do some research on my own. That is incorrect information. What we are challenging is that the money left my account and went into yours. The bank authorized that. It did go in your account. I showed proof of that on a timely manner. I'm not looking for error on the county. My job as constitutional right is not to find error in you, but to show my due diligence that I paid it on time, and that I have done. Two, when I went in the same incident that happened earlier, when I went up to the clerk, and the clerk went through that, this error would not even existed. That right was taken away from me. They said, put it in the box. So I want you to consider that really needs to be changed. If the person wants to pay it, because there was no one in line, I went right up to the counter, talked to James. He said, no, put it in the box. So even if this is a vote no, please consider changing that right so this does not happen to somebody else. But I want to reiterate, the question was to show proof that the money left my account, went into yours, came back. That's when they tagged my account. The letter states that you're looking at for fraudulent. So and I'm not saying for a discount. I'm saying that I did my due diligence and paid my taxes on time. And you received the money and sent it back because of no signature. If we caught that at the counter, that would have been eliminated.
Do any commissioners have a question of the applicant? Commissioner Withington.
So when we made the motion to reconsider this, I asked that you had checked with our bank. Did you check with our bank to see if the money actually was deposited into our account?
Our bank is Commerce Bank.
Okay.
So you have this, so in essence, it was presented in the lockbox. Commerce did whatever they do between accounts. And then we see the letter here that they did provide to the applicant. We asked the bank, could they give us anything from that perspective? You know, again, I bring the collector up. She talked to our bank. They didn't submit anything. We invited them to be here because that was a request by Commissioner Wagner. They were not available to do that either. So it does complicate when it's the same bank that does whatever they do, you know, internally from one account to another.
Okay, so, yeah, no, I completely agree with you that had you paid at the counter like you wanted to, this would have been completely handled differently, right? We would have noticed that the check was signed. So I'll make a motion that we vote for 2024-51 to approve with the box marked approve.
Very well. That is, I take it, the proper phrasing. Very well. Motion has been made for the approval of 2024-51 with a box marked approved. Further discussion. Commissioner Johnson.
So I think this goes along the same lines as the first one then. And certainly I agree that had this gone through a hand-to-hand to our collector, somebody at the counter, they could have said, hey, you forgot to sign your check. You need to sign your check. And that could have been a nice check and balance. Doesn't make it our fault. And that's the issue. I don't think that makes it our fault.
No, the issue is that the money left my account, and I have proof of that. It left my account, so that I did my due diligence.
Well, so it's the same bank. So it's a bank. It's a Commerce Bank issue apparently who's telling you that.
That's not my taxpayer issue. That's not my constitutional right to make sure that they didn't. I have to show proof that I paid you, and I did.
Yeah, well, the state law doesn't say that. And the state law says for us to refund anything, whether it's waivers, fees, that kind of stuff, waive any fees or penalties, it has to be because the county was at fault in this process. Bottom line, the fault was because the check wasn't signed. That's what caused this whole thing to happen. Honest mistake, don't get me wrong. And as far as I'm concerned, hey, you came in and your intent was good, you tried to pay for it. Who hasn't forgotten to sign a check before? I wish I could give you the money back. In my mind, though, because we're bound by the state law that says, hey, unless the county, we can show the county's at fault, and even if you can say the bank is at fault, well, okay, that's the bank. That's not the county. The law doesn't provide for that. So I think that's where really the conundrum is here, and it makes it difficult for me to say yes to that. But it sounds like it's probably going to fall on the same lines as it did the first one, and hopefully if it does, you end up getting your money back. But I can't vote yes for that for the same reason I didn't for the first one.
Anyone else wishing to speak or inquire of the applicant? Okay. Oh, please go ahead, Commissioner Johnson.
I'm sorry, I meant to say this before. So we are seeing an issue here where although not the fault of the county, I would like to see if we get to the point where we can provide a level of service that we can help taxpayers to avoid these kinds of issues. And that means if there's something that we can do during the heavy season when the counters are heavy, if there's some way that, and of course, everything comes to money, you know, can we pay someone to do that? You know, can we hire more people? If we can come up with something or think about something, if there's a way that we can help people when it comes to tax season, that we can figure out a way to just have a little bit better customer service. Not that we're bad at what we do, we're just limited. that we can open up our limits a little bit more so that we can help out a little better that way.
We've had internal discussions about how do we change that process that I think has been in place for the last 3 or 4 or 5 years. That there's a point in December that we stopped taking checks at the counter. The other thing we've had discussion about and we'll be redesigning is the document that residents get when they provide a check or they provide or they pay online, that there's not this misunderstanding that I've got a receipt and it's automatically a receipt, because it still has to clear the process. So we're talking about how do we redesign that so there's better communication to our taxpayers.
Yeah, I would like to see us provide more of a, forgive the phrase, a Nordstrom's level of service, where our customers come in, they feel like, hey, we value you. Not hey, we're gonna penalize you because you forgot to sign your check, which is what we're doing. And I get it, we don't control that, but it's still, that's us that's gonna vote on that, and it's us, the county, that sent out this. The whole thing I just don't like. I just wish there was a better way. You know, my whole idea is I want to create raving fans at every contact. Every time one of our customers come to us, one of our citizens come, I want them to leave a raving fan of the county. And say, you know what, the way that I was treated at the counter today, the way I was treated whatever office I went to, I got pulled over today by a sheriff's deputy, I'm a raving fan. It can happen, by the way. It can happen. It has happened. Where you have raving fans of people say, you know, the level of service that I was provided was just over the top. It was great. I would like to see that throughout the county. It's not easy to do, and I know sometimes it takes money to provide services, that kind of service. But I would like to see us get there the best that we can, so we don't have these kinds of things. And I apologize for that you're even in this situation.
And I understand that, and I do appreciate that. But if the check didn't get processed, if the check did not get processed, I would say I wouldn't be here. It's my fault I didn't sign the check. But the check got processed. That's what I'm saying, Jay. That it doesn't matter error. The check got processed. The check is stamped. It ran through. It was taken out, put back in. That's what I'm saying. The check got processed without my signature. You got your money.
The same bank that you say processed the check, though, rejected the check. That's where the problem comes.
But it was on your side. That's what the letter says.
Okay, that's all I have.
Commissioner Lawson, I believe you wish to be recognized.
Yeah, that's real confusing to me. I see what you're saying, but if yeah, it's on. Diana, if the money went in to our account, and then how did it get pulled back out? That's the part I don't get.
Well, I can't answer that. I mean, all we have is what the bank said, right? So, again, went through the lockbox, puts in our account, Commerce goes, it does their internal process, goes to another account, but Commerce is the one who stopped it. However, whenever I don't know that it got to our account. They may have pulled it out of his, noticed the check was not signed, and to his words, you know, put it back in as what it looked like from debits and credits.
Right.
But what we have here is a letter from the bank who says, you know, we basically, unfortunately, our system has indicated a transaction on your checking account that was identified as such and needs your attention, because this transaction was returned to protect you from possible fraud.
Yeah, and I read that part, and that's what, but you know, here's something. I think that when people come to up to pay, I really feel that our staff does a really great job. I've never, people that I've talked to, nobody ever said, oh, she was the rudest thing. Everybody's nice. Yeah, they had to wait a long time to get there, but everybody's been pleasant. And I would like to see, I don't know, with this new government, you have to sit down and read the darn charter again, but do we have the power to say, okay, we're at the top of the food chain here. We now want to say, if somebody comes in to pay their taxes, whether it's a check, cash, or whatever it is, they can stand in line if they darn well please. Are we empowered to make that decision? And if we are, we better make it. If we can't, then, that's something else. So that's one thing, but I get where you're coming from. I kind of get where Jay's coming from just a little. And I think that it's another situation where if you'd come up to the counter, been able to come to the counter, they would have said, sign your check, and it would have been over. It would have
I
been taken
did go
care
up
of.
to the counter.
But they wouldn't accept it,
No,
right?
they
That's
said
what
put
I'm
it in the
saying.
box.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But I have to say this, going back, that every time that I personally have went, and I come to this courthouse a lot, your staff is phenomenal.
Thank you.
They're nice, they do things in a timely manner. When this first arose, that's why it's taken so long, because January 2nd, I came in on the first day available to find out what happened, and the office downstairs got right on it. And to figure out, they couldn't answer what happened. But there was no, how can I say? Well, I can speak from just James and his boss. They seemed like they cared and they wanted to try to fix the situation.
Good.
So, I just want people to know that for the record, that they've always been very customer, and I teach customer service. They've been always in their due diligence and trying to make me personally happy.
Yep.
Because they weren't rude or anything when I showed them all this information, and she actually gave me the process to talk to Jerry and find out what the do's and don'ts and everything. So, I'm just saying, this shouldn't even be up for question. It really shouldn't. And, but I'm not on the commission board.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate what happened. That's very upsetting to me that you couldn't, Commissioner Withington said it best, if it took 30 minutes to do a check and 10 minutes to do a credit card, I'd see, I see what you're, but still wouldn't make a difference to me. Still, if you want to pay at the counter, darn it, pay at the counter. So, yeah, customer service, just like you say. Okay, thank you.
Do you mind if, okay, yeah, Commissioner Johnson, and I'll go to,
Sorry, Scott.
Commissioner
Just real
Wagner.
quick, did you get notified, or when did you find out that the bank had originally cleared it?
I actually went online because I keep track of my account. And you have the documentation when it cleared. And that's when I made copies and actually gave it to your office downstairs. The money left that account on the 29th, I think.
No, I'm just wondering if you knew, when did you know?
I knew on, when it got back in, I want to say the first.
Okay.
Or the second. I went in on that day to find out what's happening. I went in right on when that money went into my account. That's when they froze the account because they thought it was odd. And the president at that branch could not figure out why Clay County account did it when it was already processed. He's surprised that it even got processed to begin with. So. But no, I did it very quickly because I wanted to get this. That was $4,000.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave that out in the air.
But so my thought process is, if we try and, let's make the assumption, I'll make the assumption, okay, we're gonna say that Commerce Bank, that we do business with, is kind of an extension of Clay County. So because they're an extension of us, they're handling our banking. If they were wrong, then we can refund the money. But I'm trying to figure out, well, even if they were wrong, you didn't even know that until after it was a deadline. And you couldn't have fixed it anyway. It would have been a late payment anyway, no matter what. In other words, you didn't realize that the check did or didn't go through until after the payment deadline.
No, I knew that it went through because the money left my account on the 29th.
The money actually left your account on the 29th?
Yes, it literally left my account on the 29th, and that's what you have copies of, my actual account.
But there's a difference between money showing that it actually left your account and showing that it's in process to leave your account.
No, that's why I printed that out. It wasn't on hold. It actually took out of my general account. There was not a hold. It went out, and if you saw the debit on the amount of money above and below, you see that it literally left. And that's why I printed that whole sheet to show you that it wasn't pending. It actually left and was deducted out of my balance sheet. If you look at what's current and available, you'll see the difference.
That was the 4,500, right?
I'm sorry?
Check 154?
Yeah, it does show that.
See, that's my argument. I shouldn't
No,
say
I
my-
hear you. No, I completely hear you. So, and this is, I've had a similar argument with a similar case that I dealt with, where the bank says the money's not in your account, but it's not in this account. Well, then where is it? So the money's floating somewhere, which frustrates me with banks, because you can't have access to it, but they don't have it either. And I don't like that, the way that works either with some of the banking.
I actually wish it wasn't the same bank, because it would be cut and dry. But because it's the same bank, they said it left my account, went into theirs, but until you pull your documents off your account that I thought you were going to do for tonight's meeting to show that it went in your account, your part is only hearsay. Mine is fact, that I showed that it left my account.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. No, thank you, and I apologize for being late, dealing with some sinus issues. To me, what this boils down to is who has the latitude to move your money. Is it the county or is it the bank? What I see and hear is that this is the bank. You should be talking to them and asking them to pay your fees. And I say that because for us to have the latitude to have taken your money and now performed something wrong, it would seem to me that we would have also said to ourselves, let's not charge ourselves a fee for a bad check. As I recall from the last time we discussed this, we were charged a fee by Commerce Bank for a bad check. Am I correct, County Administrator? Or Collector? Thank you. So,
well, going by Commerce Bank, he was not.
Respectfully.
I would like to see that.
Respectfully, this has been said before, and I do not believe it's a habit of our staff to lie in front of the cameras in front of the commission, because this was a question that was asked prior. So to me, there are two things that, again, say, I don't think it's the commission's fault. I don't think it's the county's fault. I think it's your bank's fault. They've charged us a late fee for your check, which they said was bad. They've sent a letter that said that they froze it for suspicion of being fraudulent. Those are not actions that are taken by the county against itself. If we want your money, we'll gladly take your money, and I think that's the question, right? So I apologize for everything you are having to go through. I apologize that you're now here for a second time, a third time on our agenda. But as Commissioner Johnson said, the law is very clear on where the fault has to lie in order for us to refund. And as we keep going over and over, I keep coming back to the conclusion that the bank here is at issue. They've taken your money out, they put your money back, they charged the county a late fee, and they said they froze it because of suspicion of fraud. I understand what your position is, because clearly anytime I look at my bank statement and it says it's taken my money out, I assume it's taken my money out. But here it is not just that issue, but one of what is the cause of the issue that brings you here today. And so that is my struggle.
Well, this is the struggle I have with what you just said. When I have an institution that's telling me that they did not charge you a late fee, when I asked to see the receipt of where you were charged, and it's not been produced. And I know she's saying that, and that's fine. I'm just saying, for my own benefit, someone's lying to me, and I want to know who. Is it the bank, or did they misread the account that it was somebody else?
I think I know the answer to your question. And I don't think it's us.
Then I'm asking my constitutional right to see that document.
Are you completed? Commissioner Johnson, you're recognized.
Barbara, can you clarify that for us? Can you clarify that for us on what we're talking about a fee being charged to the county for this?
I'm sorry, excuse me.
Oh.
Barbara O'Reilly, collector, I'm sorry.
So the idea of us being charged, the county being charged a fee from the bank for this, can you clarify that?
Yes, we are. They're all lumped together. All of our late fees are, all the returns are lumped together. They're not individually, but they
Okay.
have a process that they send us. I probably could get it. I would need to go to the bank and have them try to designate which fees.
Like individually?
The individual.
Do
They
we
do it
know
a
how
lot.
many, do we know what the total is?
I beg your pardon?
Do you know what the grand total is for all of them? Roughly?
No, I don't. I wouldn't know.
Okay.
And depending on when they actually come back, like it, in looking at here, it looks like we sent them on January the 9th. So it wouldn't have got back to us, probably, notification until probably the 9th of January. It would have
Right.
taken that long to run through the banking process. And the
Right.
minute we get a return back, we
Yeah.
send the notification out that day.
Yeah.
So, and I see that it was January the 9th, so we would have gotten probably 9th of January, our notice, so.
Okay, thank you, Barbara.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, my thoughts on this, I'm actually going to change my opinion on this because although I don't think it's the fault of our collector or the collector's office, my legal reasoning here is I'm going to use the excuse that the bank, Commerce Bank, is an extension of us because we use that bank, and this is obviously a bank issue. That it's causing you a lot of headache, and us as well. So I'm going to use the logic that that's an extension of the county, the bank that we use, and so I'm going to vote in favor of this resolution.
So you're saying they acted as our agent, so to speak?
Right.
Okay. Further discussion? Would the collector, you came up and mentioned a little bit, do you have anything that you'd like to add to our discussion? Would the applicant like to add anything further before I recognize the motion and go for closure?
No, I just want to state for the record is you guys get a lot of bad hits in public. I'll just be honest with you. And I have to say, and I'm not saying this to sway your vote, but I'm very impressed with how I was treated. I didn't expect this type of due diligence and allowing me to speak my mind. And I do appreciate it out of some of you guys. So thank you so much.
If there are no further comments or questions from the commission, Commissioner Withington, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Just to restate, the motion was for the approval of 2024-51 with the box marked approved. Is that restatement of your accurate restatement? With that, please call the roll.
Commissioner Withington,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner,
No.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your time. Next on our regular agenda is, just for a change of pace, somebody who is not looking for us to set aside fees and interest. That would be 2024-82, Administrator.
Yes, Resolution 2024-82 is approve ARPA funding and aviation project consultant agreement for the Clear Creek Stabilization Project at Midwest National Air Center with Lochner. And Deputy County Administrator Coons is here to provide information to the commission about the project.
Please proceed.
Good evening, Commissioners. Donna Coons, Deputy County Administrator. Just for the record, my taxes were paid and I have no issues, and I love the Collector's Office.
Well,
My favorite department to work with.
well, that's why the sheriff was here, just...
Yes, So I'm actually here with maybe somewhat good news, bad news. Before you is an agreement with our airport engineering firm, H.W. Lochner, to enter into this agreement to perform design services for us, work with us and apply for us the MoDOT grant funding in a 90-10 match for our Clear Creek project. And what that is I've pulled up on the screen, is we have a creek that runs along the west side of our airport property. And the big bold arrow is referencing in between two red lines, and that is our runway safety area. If the creek continues to erode and moves closer and closer to that RSA area, that would infringe upon our ability to operate our airport and would be a violation with the FAA. So this project is for design and engineering to take that back to MoDOT to approve, and we also have to work with MDNR to approve whatever approach we take, to find a way to stabilize the creek bank to prevent further erosion.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from the commission? Commissioner Johnson, you're recognized.
You know, not too long ago, I just got done binge watching Yellowstone, and they just used some dynamite to redirect the creek. So we're not talking about redirecting, no. We're just reinforcing the...
No, we are talking about something perhaps like gabion baskets, but Ian Wright of H.W. Lochner, our engineer, is present tonight, and I will be happy to bring him up in case there's anything really technical.
Yeah, I'd like to know what he's going to do. I wonder if there's going to be dynamite involved or not.
Hi, Commission. Ian Wright with Lochner here. So this is, to elaborate a little more on what Donna spoke about, this is a preliminary design as well as an environmental analysis. The way I see it, we are approaching an intersection with many legs, and as part of this preliminary design, we will have survey data out there. They're going to be out in the creek. Thankfully, it's warming up, so it won't be too cold for them. That data for us will help us, when we get to the intersection, determine what way of stabilization we want to go. There could be, like Donna explained, gabion baskets involved. We are hopeful, we are optimistic from a surface level analysis that there will be minimal disruption or minimal alteration to the creek, which is great. That's less environmental coordination, which has really ramped up lately. So the less disturbance, the less environmental coordination, even better. We are optimistic that we could drive sheet pile beneath the surface to mitigate any further erosion. And then so long as the creek does not encroach within the runway safety area, we won't have any more issues. So the survey data will tell us a lot. That is what is a major part of this agreement. That data and then our analysis will help us determine what avenue we proceed forward with.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Further comments or questions? Okay. Thank you very much. With that, if there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion on 2024-82. Commissioner Johnson?
Motion to approve 2024-82.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2024-82. Any further discussion? Seeing none, you're recognized to close. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Next on our regular agenda is 2024-78. Administrator?
Resolution 2024-78 is consideration of approving the renewal of property and casualty insurance with Travelers Insurance. Risk Manager Pools is here to provide information to the Commission.
Good evening, Commissioners. Christine Pulse, Risk Manager. The last meeting that we were here, our partners from CBIZ came out to talk to the Commission in advance of our casualty and property insurance renewal, to talk about insurance trends, things we're seeing in the industry, and some things to keep in mind as we go into this year renewal. CBIZ, we are back here tonight to present the renewal to the Commission. And with that, I will turn it over to Tom McGuire with CBIZ to come up and talk about what our renewal looks like.
Thank you again, Tom McGuire with CBIZ. First off, want to thank you for giving us a little bit of additional time. We were able to find some additional savings from the last time we were up here. But as we mentioned before, there's, when we were up here a few days ago, there's no doubt that the property market, casualty market for municipalities is tightening and getting tougher. So we did see an increase from what we paid last year. That's a blend of just the insurance carrier charging more for the rating of the policy. And also we just had additional things to insure, including trending of property values, additional payroll on the, especially with the sheriff's office, additional vehicles. That's also causing part of the increase in the premium. Also would like to point out that we were able to garner some savings due to just putting some pressure on travelers from the standpoint of some competition. But ultimately would be up here recommending that we approve staying with travelers for all lines of coverage, minus the cyber liability. I know you can probably see on there, that looks to be a new add there. We've had cyber coverage in the past with travelers. We were marketed that pretty heavily this year due to just some actions that the county has taken to become a better risk from the cyber side. The proposal that we have in front of you shows an addition of cowbell for the cyber. It was a little bit more expensive than what we had with travelers, but the amount of coverage afforded by cowbell was substantially more than what we had last year. So we would recommend that one. Namely, that we were able to take ransomware. I think everybody's aware of those type of issues, from sublimited at $10,000 for ransomware coverage all the way up to $500,000. So for the difference in premium there, we thought that was well worth adding the additional coverage. But would be happy to answer any questions.
I'm sorry, did you, Commissioner Johnson? Please proceed.
Thank you, sir. Real quickly, can you explain to me the law enforcement liability? This year it looks like it was pretty significantly reduced, and looks like it's going to be significantly increased next year.
Yeah, the law enforcement obviously is has been a problematic line in the for carriers that write municipalities across the country, and so we're seeing rate increase on law enforcement across our book of municipalities. So although we did see a rate decrease in there last year, they did increase it this year, and that's just happening in the overall travelers book of business. Is they're getting rate on the law enforcement liability.
Do you know what caused the decrease and what's causing the increase?
I think if you look at that, most of that is just coming of them re-underwriting their law enforcement liability book across the country. And so that is one line of coverage. When we sat with travelers in the fall, I'm kind of forecasting what was coming up in 2024. That was one of their main lines of coverages that they're seeing issues with countrywide. So it's just claims activity not necessarily happening per se here at Clay County, but just countrywide for their total book of business.
So when they rewrite that book next time, could you maybe encourage them to reduce it again?
I would love to have them reduce it again. It makes my job a lot easier to come in front of you whenever it's decreased.
Thank you.
Further questions or discussion? I see none. I would entertain a motion related to 2478. Commissioner Johnson.
Move to approve 2024-78.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2024-78. Further discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to the final item on tonight's regular agenda, 2024-80. Administrator?
Resolution 2024-80 is consideration of approving invoice payments for the Clay County Prosecutor's Office from February 21st to March 1st. There are 5 invoices totaling $1,536.11.
Is there any question or discussion from the commission on this item? Is there any other information to be added by staff? Or does that cover us? Does that cover the information you wish to impart? Very well. I would entertain a motion for 2024-80. Commissioner Johnson?
Move to approve 2024-80.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2024-80. Discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
I recuse myself.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 in favor, 1 recusal.
That concludes this evening's regular agenda. Next, number 10 on our agenda are reports, and we have one. Administrator?
Yes, included in your packet is a preliminary report from the Collector's Office for the Collector's Annual Settlement Report for the year ending February 2024. This is required under state statute. We will be back with you in March, 21st probably, at your commission meeting for the final report for your consideration. Staff is here to answer any questions you may have about the preliminary report.
Does anybody have any questions or comments about the report as presented so far? Seeing none, if there's no other comment from the staff, then we will accept the report and move on to number 11 on our agenda. That would be County Administrator comments. Administrator?
Thank you. Yeah, just one announcement and reminder to the public. We are taking applications for the County Civic Academy, our very first one. And so interested parties can go onto our website and fill out an application to attend the Civic Academy. It begins on April the 3rd. It will meet one night a week for, I think, approximately 6 weeks, and it will conclude on May 1st. So we encourage all those individuals wanting to learn a little bit more about their county government to sign up for our Civic Academy. The only other item I have is the Commission's next meeting is next Thursday, March 14th at 6 o'clock here in the Commission room.
Thank you. That brings us to Commissioner comments. I'll start at the end over here. Commissioner Thompson, do you have anything you'd care to talk about? Commissioner Johnson? No, sir. Commissioner Wagner? Commissioner Lawson?
Nothing.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes, so I just want to send my condolences to the Clay County Sheriff's Department. Retired Sergeant Steve Taylor passed away yesterday, so just want to share my condolences with you guys. And then want to give a shout out to Superior Bowen. They won another award this year. Last year they won an award for their work at our airport. This year they won an award from the Missouri Asphalt Paving Association for Missouri 210 for Clay and Ray County. So congratulations to them.
Thank you. I would like to echo certainly both comments, but most specifically the first comment made about the condolences. I think that is something that we all share that same sentiment, and appreciate the Commissioner for bringing that forward for us to certainly acknowledge. With that, next on our agenda are executive items, executive sessions. Is there a motion related to executive sessions? Commissioner Johnson.
I move that we adjourn to executive session for 2 issues. The first being real estate under RSMO 610.021, subsection 2. And the other is contractual under RSMO 610.021, subsection 12.
Motion has been made for the Commission to go into executive session under Missouri Statute 610.021 parentheses 2 real estate and 610.021 parentheses 12 contractual, and to adjourn therefrom. Discussion? Seeing none, you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
With that, we will go into executive session as just voted on and adjourn therefrom. Thank you.